Hello, everyone, and thanks for taking the time to review the Santa Clara County real estate market analysis for February of 2008. My name is Robert Whitelaw, and I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of California. I'm also a member of the National Association of Realtors and a certified E-Pro. Let's go ahead and jump into the statistics for February 2008 for Santa Clara County. Now, remember, this is for the whole county, not for any specific city within the county. If you're interested in the statistics for some of the smaller areas, I don't cover every city in the county, but I do cover most of the cities in the southern end. Go ahead and look at some of my other publications, and you can see if your community is specifically represented. Now, what we're seeing here first is in supply and demand are the numbers for sold, listed, and the total inventory. Sold being the number of homes that sold in the month of February going back to 1999. Listed being the number of homes that entered the market, so folks who listed their home for sale during the month, and then the inventory is the total number of homes for sale. Now, obviously, the big shocking things that jump out right at you up front is that the inventory is highest as it's ever been, going back to 1998. It's a shockingly high number. We've got a lot of homes out there for sale, not a lot of people buying the homes that are on the market. In fact, we have a 72.9% increase from 2007 to 2008, giving us a total homes for sale of 5,068. Now, if we look at the sold homes, and solds are represented by the blue bar, you can see that we're at a pretty low point. In fact, again, for the month of February going all the way back to 1999, the lowest number we've seen, and it's actually down 39% from the same time last year, giving us a grand total of 424 homes sold in the month of February in Santa Clara County. That's not a very encouraging number, although it is more encouraging than we've seen in some previous months. Now, the new listings, that's sellers who just entered the market in the month of February, that increased by 34.3%. So a lot of folks entering the market, not entirely unusual for a February to see that number increase. We'll take a look at the more short-term numbers and see how that relates to the months prior. But given that this is basically the same month, this is all February's, it's definitely up when compared to previous years. So a lot of folks are joining in this already bloated market as far as number of homes that are available. Now, the new listings were up 34.3%, and that gave us a grand total of 1,855 homes being added to the market in February alone for Santa Clara County. Now, that basically gives us a month, a total number. If we were to calculate it in terms of how many months worth of inventory do we have, if inventory stopped right now and we got the same sales numbers every month, how many months worth of inventory would we have? And that comes out to 11.9 months. Now, to think of this in another way, think of it as for every one home that sells, 11 homes are on the market. So if you're a seller, it's a tough time out there for you, because in the month of February, for every home that did sell, there were 11 homes that did. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the more short-term look, or the recent months look, at the same numbers. Now, we'll look here and we'll see we've got the same representations. The blue line is the sold, the listed homes is the red, and the beige is the inventory. And we can see that we're seeing a bit of a jump, a bit of an increase. Now, obviously, we're already living at a much higher place as far as the numbers go, but the trend, in other words, if you look at December of last year we had a dip. December of 2006 we had a dip. 2007 we had a dip. So the dips are happening at the same place. The increases are happening at the same places with a significant difference. The rate of increase between January and February, quite a bit more substantial this year than last year. And to make of that, I think that it just shows that we've got a lot more people entering the market. If you look between January and February, the homes that were listed, relatively a flat number. Between January and February of this year, definitely an increase. So more people are entering the market. It's possible that more people are thinking that we haven't hit bottom. If sellers think that things are likely to get worse, that could be something that might encourage them to try to sell now rather than later. Now, if we look at the changes from January to February of 2008, the number of homes sold was up 25.8%. That's a good thing. The number of homes listed increased by 13.9%. That's not a particularly good thing. It's an expected thing. I would have liked to see that number actually a little lower. It would have been fine to have an increase in listings, but it should have been a smaller number. And the inventory change was up inventory was up 11.1%. Not a good thing. What we would love to see is months and months of that inventory number dropping. Now, for home prices, let's go ahead and take a look at doing it the same way we did before, the month of February going all the way back to 1999. And as you can see, despite all these other numbers we've talked about, the average home price continues to increase in Santa Clara County. Now, the average sales price in Santa Clara County was $988,772,000. The highest priced home was in Los Altos on Normandy Lane, and that home sold for $5 million. The lowest priced home, interestingly enough, was in Los Gatos for $126,500. And before you get your hopes up, it was above the Lexington Reservoir and was a one-bedroom, one-bath shack. So not exactly something probably anyone would want to get involved in. Now, the change from last year, if we look at the change in home price, average home price from 2007 to 2008, it was an increase of 2.1%. So obviously the rate of increase has slowed for Santa Clara County, where we used to see double-digit yearly increases. Like look at between 2004 and 2005, 2006. Those are some substantial increases. We've definitely seen a slowing there. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Do we slow, flatten, and then go down, or do we just slow and stay flat? So these coming months are going to be very telling, particularly since we're entering the selling months now. Now, if we look at the same number, average home price, now laid out month to month from February of 2008 going all the way back to November of 2006, it's good to sort of look at the trends here. You can see the pickup in average home price in March, April, and May. What's interesting about those numbers is that you see that they tend to then decline in June and July. So we didn't really get the sort of robust summer folks might hope, at least as far as home prices are concerned. But we have seen the same sort of trends we would expect in the winter time. But now if you'll look at January and February and go back last year and look at January and February, you'll note December, January, February, March, an increase each and every month. This year, between January and February, we actually saw a decrease of 1.6% in the average price of a home. Now, that's fairly unusual. We would expect to see a little bit of an increase, and we're not seeing it. It'll be interesting to see what we see again in March, because, again, we should see a little bit more of a marked increase in average sales price, but it'll be interesting to see if that actually happens. Now, if we go ahead and focus now on days on the market, this is a widely fluctuating number over the years, but it's something that sellers really have to think about, because sometimes when we need to get out of a house at a certain time, it's going to affect specifically how we price our home. So even if the average amount of time is no good for a seller, that means you're going to have to price your home even more aggressively, or even possibly make concessions to buyers or improvements to the property that you might not normally do. Now, we have seen an 11% increase from 2007 to 2008 in the number of days on market. And again, we can see sort of trends. It's about on par with where we were in 2002 and 2003. And those were years that were a little bit tougher. That was right after the bubble burst in the stock market. And we saw a similar market come on us a lot more quickly. We went literally in 1 year between 2001 and 2002 from having a pretty amazing market to having a market similar to what we have now. Now, if we go ahead and move on to the same sort of data, days on market, now just focusing on previous months, we can see the sort of fluctuations we would expect. The wintertime is usually slower. We're definitely higher now, the December, January timeframe. Between January and February last year, we didn't see any big change. We saw 71 days for both months. This year, we did see a decrease in the number of days on market. That's relatively good news for sellers, but nothing that I can point to as something that shows that we're turning any kind of a corner. In fact, we've got data that works for both sides. We've got data indicating that we might be needing to watch out as far as the coming markets and what's going on, and having some pessimistic concerns about what the market's going to do with these summer months rolling around. But then we've got some other data like this that points to perhaps a little bit more going on. If things are selling a little bit more quickly, that would be a good thing for sellers. It would also be good if we could just simply get more buyers out there. From street experience, from talking to folks in Morgan Hill, Los Gatos, Hamilton Valley, Blossom Valley, and the areas in southern Silicon Valley, southern Santa Clara County, there seems to be a lot more buyers out there. I know I'm getting a lot more folks contacting me through my website, so all of it together makes me sort of come to a conclusion that we're not seeing a huge drop anytime real soon, but I definitely a flattening, and folks should keep that in mind. Now, also, since we're in election year, it's important to note that usually after an election occurs, so this isn't anything that's going to happen soon, it's not going to happen until after November, we can usually expect a little bit of bump in the market after that. So it'll be interesting what effect that has. If we have a relatively flat or even summer, that might be something that kicks us into a little bit more of a healthy market, but we'll have to wait a little while before we can see for sure on that. Now, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to what I have to say on these subjects. Next month, you can come back and check out my market analysis for Santa Clara County for March, and that should be interesting. If you have any questions, ideas, or suggestions, please feel free to get in touch. You can contact me at robert@soldbyrobert.com. If you'd like to look at any of the other articles or presentations I've made, you can visit me at my website and see those at www.soldbyrobert.com. Or if you'd like to talk about real estate, or perhaps you have someone interested in finding out more about real estate in this area, or someone who needs to list, sell, or buy real estate in Santa Clara County, I'd be happy to help. Give me a call at 408-852-0525. Thank you very much, and I look forward to talking to you next time.